All right, so this is the time that we call the Afterburn. This is the time where we will take feedback, comments, questions about the teaching today. If you have any, if you raise your hand, the microphone will come around. Kurt's got the microphone. If you're on live stream, Robert is back at the admin desk again, so Robert will take your comments or questions. If it's about things that I mentioned peripherally, we would ask that you either go back and listen to the teachings first that I mentioned, or that you would contact us during the week. We do want to keep this part of the service to about 15, 20 minutes, which is hard when you have 300-400 people online and the people here that all want to ask questions. How many do we have online now? 410. Okay, so that's a lot of computers. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Who would like to get us started?
So I have a bunch of different thoughts and questions kind of scribbled down on my little paper.
You have thoughts
here.
and questions.
So hopefully I can articulate it accurately because it's kind of deep. So going back to Luke 8, so how does one establish a deeper relational experience with the Father? Through prayer, personal reading of Scripture? How do we learn how to interact with Him? And then going back to verse 18, how do we know we are not the one who thinks we possess? And then I'll leave it at that.
Okay, first question. These are good questions. Okay, the first question is this. The way that you build your relationship is through taking action in the context of emunah. You do. He says, you do. It builds your... In other words, okay, it's the same thing with, I present a model here that I've been pushing for a long time of scriptural leadership. So how do you know how that works? Until you actually interact with it. And then if we talk and I give you some guidance, you don't know if the guidance is good until you try it, you test it, you use it. So the way we build our relationship with the Father and the Son is that we take what they say and we try to do what they say. We apply it. When we apply it, it will then build, by the fruit of it, that relationship. The more that you interact. So it's not just prayer. Prayer is just more informational stuff. You're trying to converse back and forth. I'm not saying not to pray, but that's not enough. Okay? Studying the word's not enough. That's still informational. Taking those things and doing something that it says to do, or not doing something that you've been doing that it says not to do. And seeing that it works, that it does what he says it will do, that builds the relationship. You start to have emunah, trust, faith, belief that what he says is the truth. It's reality. It works. It's what exactly, it is what he says it is. It does what he says it will do. So the way you build a relationship is by actually doing and taking action. Does that make sense? Okay. Second question was about how do you know if you're just thinking you possess or if you really possess? This, I think, goes back to the discipleship process. You need an accountability person. You need a mentor. You need a discipler who can help you to know whether or not you possess or you just think you possess. Okay? You need somebody who can see, but not through your eyes. You need another set of eyes. If you're married, you have that to some degree because you have a spouse. Your spouse can give you that other set of eyes, and your spouse will. And sometimes you'll find that very annoying because they see it and you don't, and you're not ready to hear it from them. But that's part of why Abba gave you the spouse. It gives you that other set of eyes. Congregational leadership can do that for you as well. Best friends can do that as well. It all depends on where you're at, though, because the same people could theoretically be codependent, enabling, and entitling. So you have to find someone who is not going to coddle you. You know, the same thing that makes people not like me should make you really appreciate that that's what you need, though, is someone who's not going to coddle you, is not going to sugarcoat it, who's going to tell you like it is, whether you like it or not, even if you don't like the way it's delivered. But at least you're going to have somebody who's never going to enable you. Okay? Is not going to enable or coddle or entitle you. And so that's what you're looking for. You want that person that's, okay, I'll give you an example. When I was working years ago in a health club business, one of the people I worked with had been on a diet, had done a real great job, lost a lot of weight, was an aerobic, one of the aerobic supervisors. And something had gone wrong somewhere in her life, and she started putting it back on, something about what she'd been doing. And I went up to her and I said something. And she said to me, I said, I hope you're not going to be upset, but I noticed you started to put the weight back on. There's something going on. And she said, I want to thank you. You're the only one of my friends who was actually even said anything. Nobody wanted to say anything. We all knew how important this was to her. We knew the commitment she had. We knew how much weight she had lost and had accomplished, and it was a lot. But nobody was, they were all enabling whatever had happened. Nobody was going to say, hey, I know this is important to you, and I noticed you've gained weight back. And so they're all afraid to say, oh, what are you saying, I'm fat now? No, I wasn't afraid of that. I wanted to know, is there anything I could do to help? Because I noticed that this was not in line with where you were going. Something derailed something. You need a friend who's willing to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. You need a leadership that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And not going to talk, and you need also someone who's going to tell you what you need to hear, whether you want to hear it. In other words, who's going to tell you anyway, not just wait for you to ask.
So I had a question about 10 verses 1, 1 Corinthians 10, 1 through 5. It appears like they were all immersed. It appears like they were all immersed, but really only 2 ever got into the land and truly immersed themselves in everything. So like you were saying, it's not enough to just simply, even to a certain extent, you've got to take it from here down into here. Even the mechanics are not going to be enough.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to reword that to kind of where I was going. So what we're saying is, look, they were mechanically immersed. In other words, they were together, they went through the sea, they went to Sinai, they heard the commandments taught, they heard Yahweh's voice, they did all of that, they saw the lightnings and the thunders and all the things. However, only 2 possessed. In other words, they immersed themselves. They allowed themselves to embrace and to receive from a fullness in their heart. It wasn't just in their head. Okay, a lot of people were on the journey. Look, a lot of you have been in water and you got wet. That doesn't mean that you were immersed. It means you were in water and you got wet. That happens every time you take a bath or a shower or go in a swimming pool or in a lake or an ocean. You get wet and you probably went under the water and you were immersed. But the thing is, they had to choose to immerse themselves in Moses and what Yahweh did through Moses. Information's not enough. They had the information. Not only had the information, they had the experience. And that wasn't enough. They had to choose the relationship. As far as most of them were concerned, Moses had the relationship, and we're going to kind of ride on those coattails and let Moses be the one with the relationship. 2 chose to have a relationship individually in addition to Moses. It was Yehoshua and Caleb. Those 2 chose to have a relationship. The others chose to do it vicariously and let Moses do it for you. This is the same foolishness of Christianity. I don't have to do anything. Messiah did it all for me. Well, that's going to get you the same place all of them got in the desert, dead. If I'm wrong, show me, because that's what's going to happen. If you're banking on Messiah did it all for you, you're not going to end up anywhere good. Oh, he did what he needed to do that you couldn't do, but he did not do it all for you. You need to immerse yourself. You need to embrace. You need to possess. You need to develop that relationship yourself for what he did to make any difference in your life. If you don't, what he did will have no basis whatsoever. Remember, I said that the other day. We're talking about it. What he did has no relevance to you unless you do. Because we all know there's lots of people that, because he did what he did for everybody, he says he gave his life for the whole world, we know there's lots of people that are going to end up not in the kingdom. Why? Because what he did had no effect on them, because they chose to not allow it to have an effect. They chose not to do. They chose to just let him do all the doing. He has authority over you. It's not for him to do everything for you. That's kind of how we wreck the children, right? Remember I said that earlier. If we do everything for them, they're going to be useless as adults. We don't allow our children to do enough early enough. Well, they're going to mess it up. Well, let them mess it up. How are they ever going to get it? Oh, but it's going to take forever when they do it. Yes, it will. But if they know how to do it eventually, they'll do it instead of you. That'll be worth it. You can call them over. Hey, can you fix this? Can you do this? Because now they know how to do it. Wash the dishes or cook the food or, fix the car or whatever. You teach the kids to do some things. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time with it at first, and it's going to take forever. Take 5 times longer to do it the first few times they do it. But eventually, guess what? Do you know at this point, for example, I don't have to do a thing to pack up all the stuff. I used to do it all myself. And when I first taught my son to do it, it took longer when he was first doing it. But now guess what? He breaks down the keyboard and the systems, and he puts it right in the car, packs it all up. I don't have to do anything. So my life is a lot easier, and things are a lot faster. Okay? He's hiding under the table. Okay? Thank you, Stephen. But I could have chosen for expediency to do it myself. Because in the beginning, and until he got it, it was faster if I did it. Okay? In the kingdom, we're going to be expected to do a whole bunch of stuff. And it's going to be really tough if we go and look at the Father and go, well, I don't really know how to do that, because Yeshua did it for me. And so I never really thought to try and figure it out or anything. So that's just not going to work. Daweed?
So basically, to put it in my own language for myself, for my own understanding, basically what you're saying is own it.
Yeah,
Make
exactly.
it your own.
Own it. Possess. That's what he says. He said, those who did not possess, then what they thought they possessed will be taken away. But they didn't actually possess. Okay? See, look, we talked about this before. I want to say this. Kurt, we got a hand over here. Okay? But I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. When you ask a Jew, an observant Jew, not all Jews are observant. You ask a Torah observant Jew, why do you keep the Torah? I promise you, they may look at you funny. Like, what do you mean? It's like a dumb question. Because I'm a Jew. So when someone asks you, why do you keep the commandments? You should look at them funny like, that's a dumb question because that's what he made us to do. What do you mean, why do I keep them? See, they possess, they understand it belongs to us. Matter of fact, they're kind of not happy with you doing it because they don't think it's for you, they think it's for them. I often joke, I say Christians and Jews agree on one thing, that the Torah is not for you. We got to make a little thing for that one, okay? But that's the problem. But you have to possess it. By own it, that doesn't mean you get to manipulate it, change it, or adjust it, or anything like that. It means that you have embraced it as a part of you. It's yours. It belongs to you. You're now responsible for it. How's that? Okay? If I gave you a brand new, beautiful Mercedes car, it's yours. Guess what? If you go and wreck it, that's your problem. If you destroy it, it's your problem. If you don't put the right gas in it and do the right changes on it and maintain it, that's your problem. I gave it to you. It's yours. Okay? And I've had that happen. There was somebody that was given something, and then they went back to the person that gave it to them and felt like they almost had to apologize. And the person said, I gave it to you. It became yours. If you lost it, destroyed it, or messed it up, I'm not going to get upset about it. Once I gave it to you, it was for you to do whatever you wanted with it. So what are you going to do with the covenant that's been offered to you, the possibility of eternal life that's been made available to you through the deliverance of Yeshua from death that he did on the stake? What are you going to do with all that? Key word is, what are you going to do with all that?
I was going to try to make the connection or ask you if you could about we read the parable about the seeds, and I guess it's up to us what to do. Like all the people were passed under the cloud and things like that. I guess the seed was broadcast. Everybody had that opportunity to flourish or whatever, just like back in the Old Testament.
All right.
Do you see the connection I'm trying to make? I'm sorry.
Yeah, connect them together. That's why I picked the ones I did, okay? Not because I knew, but I knew the Ruach helped me pick them because they're connected. What was the difference in those who got laid low and didn't? The type of ground they were. Okay, none of them were good ground but two. The rest had the other types of ground spread out amongst all the rest of the 600,000 men. Okay? or the roughly 2-3 million people. They had the other, because we're talking about the adults of age, the men was about 603,000. All right, so 2. Okay, I think it's 603,550. So 603,548 had a problem. They didn't have good ground. So that's the connection. Okay, a ground that would allow the seed to take root, to embrace it and allow it to be a part of them. See, the seed and the ground interact. The roots flow through the ground. But if you've got stony ground or hard ground and all this other type of wayside, there's no place for the roots to go. It's all closed off. And so all of these things are connected. That's why these choices of, Luke 8 and John 16 and 1 Corinthians all go together. And by the way, I think the problem was also 1 Corinthians 13. All those people that were laid low in 1 Corinthians 10 that we're talking about from the Exodus journey, those people were not thinking. Okay, remember it says, when I was a slave, I thought as a slave, I behaved as a slave, but now I put away slave things. We could have filled that in that way. But they filled it in with free man thinking based on free men they knew, not based on what Yahweh would teach them, what it meant to be changing masters. Because now they thought they were free. You see the wrongness of that thought? They thought they were set free. How many Christians do you talk to who say, oh, but I have freedom now. I've been set free. Right? But they have the same verse you do that says you're not free. You've changed the master to whom you serve. But see, the lie of Christianity is that you are now free. You've been set free from sin, death, slavery to sin, all that other stuff. Yes, you've been set free, but you're not free. You moved under another master. If you choose to be in the middle between the two masters and really be free, you can, eat, drink, be merry, and die. That's it. You're free. Do whatever you want. But see, if you come under the mastership, the rulership, the authority of the other choice, Elohim, our Father and the Father and the Son, you come under their authority, all the good stuff they offer is right there. So you have the slavery of bondage to sin. You've got eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow we die. And then we got eternal life. Which one do you want? Because you could be delivered out of abuses and addictions and all that stuff and still just live a secular life and be a quote-unquote good person and have fun and enjoy your life. And you don't have to be crazy and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to be all in that. Or you can come totally over into submission to the authority of the universe and know that you have a future of forever. See, but the delusion bubble that's been sold for the last 2,000 years to most people is you've been set free. You have freedom now. James calls it the Torah of freedom. James chapter 2, I think. All right? He says, those who have looked into the word, the Torah of freedom. Anybody really want to be honest? Don't you all feel freer now that you're in Torah, not burdened more? Oh, that burdensome law that nobody can do, and oh. It's ridiculous. Who's next? All right, Shira.
I really appreciate learning about what it means to possess, that's the relationship. And just a thought came to my mind I thought might be a blessing. When I was a young girl of 14, I really wanted a horse. And we lived on a 23-acre farm, but there was no corral for a horse. So I promised my dad, I'll build the corral, and I found a post hole digger, and I started digging. I needed to dig 50 post holes, and some of you might know what hard work that is, especially for a 14-year-old girl. And I got 14 whole post holes dug, and I fully intended to dig the rest. Whatever happened, even if my back hurt or whatever, I was gonna just make a place for that horse. Well, my dad saw my zeal, and he saw my sacrifice, And he jumped in and said, okay, I can see you're really serious. I'm going to dig the rest of the post holes for you. And that's what is so wonderful about the relationship, is that, we possess him in all his graciousness and his loving commitment. And sometimes, I just see so many people on Marco Polo and other places where I just want to get it so right. I just want to do it right, and I'm afraid I'm not doing it right, And I just want to say, this is a big lesson that Father has taught me, is looking back to that time as a kid, that's what he's like. You just put in your best effort, and his grace will cover.
Deuteronomy 8:2. He wants to know that you want to be perfect, not that you are perfect. We didn't actually mention Deuteronomy 10:12 or 8:2 this teaching, but that's what you're talking about. But also, let me ask you this question. We already took the mic back, but you could answer this question. I'll say what she says. Once he built the thing, once he did that work for you, was all of your responsibility for the horse done? No. She said no. In other words, he didn't now do everything for you. He finished a work that he knew you could not really do. You were 14, there were 50 holes, it was killing you to get the 14 done. But he saw that you were willing to kill yourself to do it. Okay, you were going to do this thing. That moved his heart. So he helped you with the one task. But he didn't take away all of the tasks. You were still going to have to groom the horse and muck the stables and do the other things that you were going to have to do. Whatever you need to do to maintain your horse. Okay? And that's the point. Okay? So she wasn't done. He didn't now say, well, that little effort you did right there, that's great. I'll take care of everything else. He says, no, I'll finish this task for you. I already know that you can do it, and I know that you want to do it. Great. You've proven that point. So let's move on to the next thing I'd like you to prove to me. Will you take care of the horse? Are you going to make sure it's fed and groomed and taken care of? Same things I talked to my son about. He wants a dog. Okay? But he's going to have to understand, he's going to have to walk that dog and take care of that dog and make sure, And every kid says, oh, yes, I'll do all that. Yeah, I was that kid, And that zeal disappears about 6 months later. And then it becomes like, oh, I got to go walk the dog. First few times, like, hey, come here, Toe, we're going to walk the dog. But you have to accept the responsibilities for your choices. Do you even know what you're asking for? That's one of those things that we think, I guess, scripture-wise. Did you look at the contract? The contract is, you looked at the part that says, no more pain, no more suffering, eternal life, and all that kind of stuff. But the other part of it says, but in the meantime, you're not going to be popular, you're going to get persecuted, life's going to be miserable until we get to that place. It says both in the same contract. He doesn't promise you, like the Sunday guys tomorrow might promise you, that just come to make your altar call and everything's going to be wonderful now. He doesn't promise that. Now, he promised Israel that when they were a nation, say, if you go in the land and just do what I say, you'll have that right now. But once he dispersed them, he says, well, now you're not getting it until I return. That's where we are. Do we accept it? Do we possess that? Do we embrace that? Do we understand and own that? See, you own all the stuff that you wanted to until it became a burden. What's the burden? Your family's so mad at you, nobody's talking to you right now. They're smearing your good name everywhere. For some of you, that's really what's happening. I've heard, you told me. And you're almost ready to give up and quit. Why? He told you this would happen. Doesn't make it any more fun. Doesn't make it hurt less. But it should be something you can endure. Go back and listen to the endure teaching. We got to really listen. These teachings are not meant to listen to once. You're going to have to go back, hear it again, until you possess, until you embrace the message from the Word as explained by the teacher. So on how to apply it. Remember, and Manny just posted this the other day. The Torah teachings are designed so you can understand it, so you can do it, so you can defend it, so you can teach it. Okay? I'm not so concerned about the fourth step. If you never are able to teach it, that's fine with me. I want you to be able to understand it and do it, first of all. And then be able to defend it. Defend it meaning not that you can convince anybody to do it or not do it, but just so you can explain to them why you do it and why you're okay with them not understanding it. But you can defend and show that it does say so in Scripture that you're supposed to do these things or not do whatever it is. Anybody else? Steve?
This is another comment on possession. To have that relationship with him, we need to go inside and make the correct accommodations for him to have that relationship.
Exactly. In other words, you're going to have to let some things go, unburden, unfilter. Okay, because some of you, remember I talked about the thorns in the garden there? Some of you got so much stuff in there, there's no place for the seed to grow. You're going to have to let stuff go to make room. You're going to have to clean house, clean out the closets, so we get it all out of there. Start from scratch. Where's the mic? Robert? Like I said, I wanted this to be 15 minutes. We've already gone like half an hour. Go ahead.
That's okay. I only have about 12. No.
Which is funny. We started out with none. See what you did?
No. 3 so far.
I'm actually glad you did. I like the discussion.
Aubrey and Jeremy Allen, can you please give a few examples of bearing good fruit? What does that look like?
Okay. Go to the teaching, well done, good and trustworthy servant, which I need to redo. Okay, in the teaching, the first one is good. It deals with the words good, trustworthy, and servant. By definition, Scripture tells us there are none that are good but one. When Yeshua someone says, well, good teacher, he says, why you call me good? He said, there's only one that's good. So by definition, we know what's good when it comes from the Creator. Okay, what Father gave us, that's what's good. So what is good fruit? It's fruit that comes out of doing what is good. Okay, that's what good fruit is. In other words, the fruit is that you did the thing he said, or you didn't do what he said not to do. So that's what good fruit is. It's not good fruit meaning that it had some great result. The result was that you did or didn't do what he said to not do or to do. That's the fruit. That's good fruit. You're here today, that's good fruit. He said to keep the Sabbath day and not to forsake assembling and to come together in a Mikra Kodesh, and you're here. Guess what? That goes in the good fruit column. Okay? And you didn't go to your job today. He said not to do that, not to work. Okay, that's another good fruit column. And all day long, you didn't eat any pork, shellfish, and other things from Leviticus. There's another, see, that's good fruit. See, that's what good fruit is. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, from S.
Hold on.
Egan.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt again. I want to just hit this harder. So don't look at the results. Some of you will say, well, when I did this, the result was my family got mad at me, and that's not good fruit. You're looking at the wrong thing. I just want to hit that harder, just one more second. I was about to go to the next question, but hit that harder. The result you're looking for is to be well-pleasing in his sight. And he says that you will be when you obey. Don't go by the way others react, and don't look for the accolades from others. Because people will say to me, well, he wouldn't want my family not to talk to me. No, he doesn't. But he tells you it will happen. And so don't look at result, meaning fruit equals result. The result that we're talking about is this: the fruit of obedience meant you did what he said. That's the result. You listened to him, and the result was you took action by doing or not doing what he said to do or not do. Stop looking at the way others respond to it as being good fruit, quote unquote. Did that make more sense now? Okay? Because I know some of you are going to be like, oh, but I lost my job and now I can't pay for my bills, or I did this because I said I can't work on the Sabbath. Go get another job. Go do what you have to do. What, that's the only job out there ever? I'm just saying is stop looking at the result the way the world is going to respond to what you do. You want to care about what the Creator responds to what you do. Does that make more sense? You're looking for his response, not the world's. Now, you may suffer first. You make a choice. The world doesn't like it. Guess what? You might suffer right away. You're going to struggle with your work or with your relationships with your family members or whatever it is. But you know what? We're going to read verses that talk about where he says things like, this is what it says about Messiah. Messiah counted it nothing, the suffering of this world, for what he was going to be receiving. We have to imitate him. We should count the suffering of this world nothing compared to. So when you do what he says to do, don't look at the result that the world gives you to judge whether or not you did the right thing. Now are we there where we need to be on that? Okay? All right, next question.
All right, from S. Egan. What to do when we feel we are becoming like the seed in the thorns because we are procrastinators, however, our heart is well set?
Why do you guys ask questions where I have to be mean? I don't want to be mean. All right, I'm going to be honest with you. All right? I said this the other week. You are exactly in life where you are comfortable being. You are at the level of suffering that you can tolerate. You will always end up at the level of tolerance. Your heart is not well set. If it was, you would do. You would care, you would desire it enough. Believe me, I know this from when I was a kid. My father said this to me, and you had this all said to you too, a lot of you. Unless you were morning persons. If you were a morning person, you never heard this maybe. But my father would get me up to go to school or get me up to do something, but he would say to me, oh, but when I say we're going to the amusement park, you're the first one in the car. You're up ahead of everybody. Oh, but for school, I got to drag your you-know-what out of bed. Your heart is well set. So don't tell me your heart's well set and you're procrastinating. Your heart's not there yet. I'm sorry, I'm being honest. And that's not just for you on the mic. That's for all of you. Don't tell me your heart's set. Out of the heart is where the actions come from. You procrastinated because your heart isn't in it. Because if you wanted it, you'd be doing it. What were you doing instead? What your heart really wanted to do. That's why you did the other thing. So don't tell me your heart is set. No, your mind is set. You are intellectually embracing what you're supposed to do. You procrastinate because your heart isn't a part of that yet. You want something bad enough, you're going to do like Shira said. You're going to go out there and dig holes in anything you need to do without procrastination. Her heart was set. Okay? So that's why I said, don't put me in a place where I have to be mean. Because if you call me to counsel, no, I'm not going to tolerate the hypocrisy, the nonsense, and lying to yourself. If you tell me your heart is set and then tell me everything that shows it's not, I'm going to call you-know-what on that. I'm going to call it what it is. And that's the kind of person you should want to have in leadership. People call me up. Well, I don't know what to do about this, and I know they do. And I say, are you calling me because you know and you don't want to do it, and you're hoping I'm going to change because you really don't know? Come on, be honest, because I already know they know. I said, well, I know. Well, then why are you calling me? I don't have time for that. I was going to say man up, adult up, whatever that means. Male or female, I don't care. Grow up and do it. Don't call me thinking I'm going to bail you out and give you some sort of permission to do what you know you're not supposed to do. That ain't happening. Worse, I'm going to embarrass you and say, come on. See, now you're going to all think I yelled at that person. I'm yelling at you. No, I'm raising my voice. I'm not yelling at you. I'm trying to punch through all of that stupid, foolish thinking we got. And it doesn't break through easy. It's got to be pounded in. We've got to stop that. Don't tell me your heart's in something, but you're not doing it. Hey, your heart's not in it then. Come on. Am I wrong? If your heart was in it, you'd do it, believe me. You look at your day and you'll find that most of the things you did all day were the things that you wanted to do the most. And the things that you really didn't want to do that you did is because your heart had that knowledge that if I don't do it, the suffering will be so great, I better just do it. I used to write every paper I wrote 2 o'clock in the morning the day it was due. My heart wasn't in it until I was that much not wanting an F. Now, I knew it was due. I knew I had to get it. I knew I had to do it at some point because I already knew I wasn't getting an F. I was an A student. I wasn't getting any Fs. But I put it off until there was enough pain leverage threatening over my head to make me do it. You do what you do either to avoid pain or to seek pleasure. So either you're procrastinating because you haven't associated enough pain with not doing it, or you haven't associated enough pleasure with doing it. Figure that out. You're not connecting enough pain, maybe both, like you just said. Because when the pain is high enough, you will do it. Now, here's the problem. The world's going to exert pain on you, and you have to have enough pleasure connected to doing what he said in spite of that pain. That's why we're going to read the verse that says, where he counted it nothing, that pain and suffering, because of the pleasure he knew was coming. All right? Just understand that's the problem. We are not doing what we're not doing, or we're doing what we shouldn't do because we still haven't connected the right amounts of pain and pleasure to the right decision, and then the right amount to the wrong decision. But guess what? Reaping and sowing as a way of kicking you in the teeth and getting your attention. That's why he says, Yahweh uses this exact same understanding when he says, and if you don't obey, I will punish you. Then he says, and if you still don't obey, I'll punish you what? 7 times that. And if you still don't obey, what is he doing? Turning up the fire, turning up the pain level, because guess what? We will often do more to avoid pain than to seek pleasure. Some of the things you do to avoid what you need to do, you don't even like doing it that much. It's just something to do instead of the thing I really don't want to do. And so you'll do almost anything to not do the thing you don't want to do because that's painful. Because you already have attached so much pain to doing that thing. And you can attach whatever you want. You know, this may sound strange to you, but you could talk to my wife. My wife thinks it's fun to clean the house. Somehow her sister and her, when they were kids, turned it into a game, turned it into a contest, whatever. She doesn't understand why my children and others don't think it's fun. But she literally does. She attached pleasure, and she also attached pain to it not being clean. And so her mindset's different because of that. Or she's just crazy, but that's one of my thoughts. But anyway. No, she just attached different emotions than we normally attach. She thinks it's fun. Why? Because that's the emotions that her heart attached to those things. She had such a great time with her sister on Fridays, cleaning the house for Shabbat, turning it into a game and a contest, trying to outdo each other, who could clean better, whatever. It became something she always associated as being fun. And losing that contest was associated with pain, so she got real good at it. Okay? But I'm using this as an absurd example because you can attach whatever you want to anything. You can make anything into a pleasurable thing that you really hate doing. You can turn it around. And the things that you really like to do, that you shouldn't do, you can turn it around, turn it into pain. You know why you don't stop doing those things that you really love doing? Is because you still love doing them. You haven't associated enough pain with it yet. What is this all about, this whole teaching? Thinking, the thoughts you have about the thing you're not doing or they're doing that you shouldn't do, and how much emotion is attached to that thought, and then the action that naturally follows that combination, and then the habits that form, and then the destiny you end up at. Are we getting it? At least a little bit. What else you got? Unless nobody wants to go next after that.
I've got one more question, a comment, and I've got one more comment that they retracted, but I'm thinking about throwing it in there anyway. But
Hey, once you put it up there, it's all fair game. Go ahead. What do you got? Quickly.
from Amy Maricino, Christian thought divides our sacred and secular lives, as MTOI is not all of our life kadosh.
I didn't follow that. Say it again.
Christian thought divides our, quote, sacred and secular, end quote, lives,
Okay.
as MTOI is not all of our lives kadosh.
I'm not understanding. I understand the first part. I don't understand the MTOI part. I don't know what she's trying to say about it. MTOI is not, I didn't get where that was going. I mean, MTOI is simply a vehicle and opportunity to encourage the doing of these things, but I don't know what she was trying to say there.
As Torah observant, our actions, every action that we do, none of it's secular, all of it's...
Okay, so what MTOI is teaching is that it's not split and divided, but it's all one. Okay, that I would understand and agree with. The way it was worded, it confused me. Okay? Okay, with MTOI teaches that you cannot separate these things. Both worlds exist together, and your life in both worlds reflect on each other, and they have to be congruent. You are to be in the world, but you are to be not of the world. Okay? You exist and you live in this space called the world, but you don't have to participate and embrace and possess their way of thinking and acting. Okay? So if that's what she was saying, I get it. What else you got quickly? I'm getting hungry. I haven't eaten all day, so I'm hungry.
All right, just one comment, and that is...
We got 4 hours to 5 guys. You know, I'm getting hungry already.
Yeah. Just the one comment. In response to, or it's where you said that Abba brought us out of delusion, and he can bring other people out of delusion.
Well, he will, but
yeah,
it's his choice when and how.
Yeah, you said you two were in the delusion of bubble. And so the comment is, Abba was capable of lifting us out of our delusion and has already used that to prove that he can lift, it's a sign, if you would, that he can lift them out of the delusion as well. So you shouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, no, listen, people shouldn't, exactly, you should not be worrying about everybody else. I said leave them alone, let Abba work with them. He'll pull them out. But you got to remember the process, the same process that was used with you. He's going to disturb their peace. He's going to get them to start asking, seeking, and knocking. And then they'll find somebody when they're ready who's there to share with them. And they're going to be asking, though. You're not because you knocked on them, not because you knocked, they're going to knock. They go, hey, that thing you're doing, I'm curious now about that all of a sudden. But you know what? They're not going to ask you if you're not letting your light shine by walking it and living it. Let them know you're the crazy person doing the Torah stuff and acting like a Jew. Because that's what they accuse you of anyway. But when they're poked and ready to ask questions, now they'll know that they can ask you because they may say, I wonder if what they're doing is part of this, part of the answers I'm looking for. And then you should know the teachings well enough to be able to defend and teach it. You understand it, you're doing it. They see that part because you're doing it. And now when they talk to you, you can help explain it, defend it, and teach it. And by the way, you're not going to get that listening to the teaching once or even twice or 3 times. You have to listen to these things. And not just listen information. Sit down and meditate on it and process the word. I'm not saying that you're listening to me. Listen to what the word is saying. I'm just helping to share it and piece it together for you. All right? But don't just listen straight through and never stop. Well, I know you have to stop. I talk too fast. But hit that stop button and really think about some of the points. Okay? Because I know some of you say, well, it's hard for me to take notes at services. Well, don't. Go back and when you listen to it the second time, take notes. Shouldn't be listening to it once anyway. Because it's not going to do you that much good once. It'll stir you, provoke you a little bit, and get you all excited about something, but you won't remember everything that was said anyway. And you won't remember the parts you particularly needed the first time. That's why you take notes, to remind yourself the little bullet points that were for you, that you felt, I need this. That's why you go back the second time and you have that pause button on your screen or on your DVD, a CD player or whatever, where you can stop it and, okay, wow, that was something I needed there, okay? Because some of you want to see, I've been through 400 teachings this week. Why? Why don't you listen to the same one 4 or 5 times and be better off? Listening to one teaching 4 times is going to get you more than listening to 4 teachings. Listen, I'm an educator, okay? I'm telling you as an educator, you listen to one teaching 4 times, it will benefit you more than listening to 4 teachings 1 time. Stop being in such a rush to blast through volumes of stuff. Now, you maybe are just trying to check me out in the ministry out. Fine, go through the volumes, get an idea of what we teach. But when you're ready to start learning, as opposed to just gathering information, you're going to have to listen to something 3 or 4 times and stay on that one thing till you get it. By get it, I mean whatever it is you needed out of it. Okay? And then maybe a couple years later, listen to it again and you'll realize there's more stuff. Look at all the stuff I found to add to this since the first time I did this teaching. And actually, really the first time I did this teaching was probably in 2000 or 99. It was a long time ago. It's an old teaching. But I did it more recently here, I think, in 11 or 12. Okay? So it's a good 7 years ago already. But I'm telling you, you want to possess the information that the book is giving you, and you're not going to get that just blasting through stuff. And don't only listen while you're driving and when you're doing multitasking. Sit down and study the teaching with no distractions. Not while you're listening to Marco Polo also, or whatever else you do. But sit, pen in hand, write down what you need, and say, what can I take out of this that I can apply? Every time I teach, my goal is to give you something that you can apply in your life right now. I'm not here to give you stuff that's just interesting. I want something that you can take right now, and if you apply it, it makes you that much more Yeshua-like. If you would just do it, it takes you that little step further in transforming and conforming into his image. That make sense? Amen?